This episode is brought to you by BigMooseCoffeeCompany.co. Pals. Feels good to say that again. I've only had a week off, but it's felt like a lot longer. I can imagine it felt like a long time for you guys. I am so very desperately sorry that you had to go a week without an episode from me, without seeing my bald pate glisten on the screen or hear my words coming in through your ears. It was overly creepy and I apologise for it, but I'm excited to be back and I hope you're excited that we're back as well. Not that you guys have been quiet while we're off. What we have been receiving is quite a lot of suggestions for guests that you want to hear on the show, which is fantastic. Keep them coming. If you send in the name, we will try and seek out that person. Don't get me wrong, our list of guests and potential guests is getting longer all the time. We're planning episodes way ahead of time now, but we will get to them. Okay, so ping in them suggestions. We love to hear from you. I've got to say as well, that as tough as that week off might have been for you guys, it was an absolute joy for me. Exactly what I needed. We've all had a stressful few months, and personally, and I'm not complaining about this, I love my house, but I live in a shoebox in the centre of the city, and what I got last week was finally the opportunity to spend a decent amount of time out in the Peak District, out in the hills, seeing some green, being under some big skies, yomping up and down some steep things, and generally having a whale of a time. And then much of the rest of the week I spent just chilling. Just finally being on a sofa, reading a book, watching a film, and getting my energy back together, ready to hit the ground running with the podcast again. And I'm here. I'm back. I'm in full force, full effect, ready to go. We've already got a few episodes recorded over the course of this week. I've got more scheduled in early next week, so we've got shows for you lined up and ready to go, and I'm really excited about some of these guests. I'm not going to spoil the surprises, but I'm very excited about some of these guests. And that is not to say that I'm not extremely excited about today's guest as well. Today we're going to be talking to somebody who I first met in Peru in 2016, and you know when you meet someone and you just know they're going to stick with you, that there's something about them that you just think is awesome, and you know you're going to remember them. And this is one of those people that you meet and you think, I want to help you get to your goal, like if it kills me, because what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. He's not an elite, you know, he'd be the first to say it. He's more of a back of the pack guy. He is, in his own words, getting his absolute money's worth out of the trail, and that's extremely relatable for most of us. As inspiring as it is talking to these absolute monster athletes who are going out there and bagging FKTs left, right and centre, today we're going to be talking to someone who does these kind of massive endurance challenges, but you know, it's not his everyday training. You know, it's a different thing for him. His days are longer, his pack's heavier, and he's grabbing every experience he can while he's out there. And I just found him great to talk to. Having seen him march his way through 230 kilometers of jungle and then do the same in the frozen Arctic, I've never seen this guy not happy and not absolutely content to be in whatever pain cave he happens to be in at the time. So if you don't drag inspiration out of that, I don't know what you're going to drag it out of. And that is the least of it. He is also predominantly a teacher, a primary school teacher. And I wish this guy had been my teacher when I was a kid. Our guest today was awarded an MBE for his inspirational teaching and the charity work that he does alongside it. Each and every year, he sets up another outlandish challenge, sets himself that goal, trains, prepares, researches, and then goes out and gets it done. And every year, he brings the kids along with him for the journey. That's not to say he's bringing the kids out into the middle of the Arctic, just to be absolutely clear, but over the course of the year, they're involved in the training, they're involved in learning about the place that he's going to, they're involved in learning about all the ins and outs of what's behind one of these mammoth challenges, and they get to share with him the experience of him having completed them and having reached those goals. And that must be so inspirational for his kids. I'm extremely jealous. And alongside that, he also raises money for charity. So he's recently set up his own charitable trust, which we'll talk about a bit in the episode. And over the course of the years he's been doing these challenges, he's now raised over £5,000 for various charities. And in lockdown, he's been keeping himself busy alongside looking after the kids while their education's so disrupted. He's been out there making sure that food's getting delivered in his community. If you don't love this guy, then you need to speak to somebody better qualified than me. And I'm not going to beat around the bush any longer. I'm going to introduce today's fantastic guest, which is Mr. Steve Hill MBE. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Well, yeah, good to see you. Thanks for inviting me on today.
Oh, no worries at all. It's a pleasure to have you, mate. I'm trying to think when I last saw you. It would have been somewhere very cold, I imagine.
It was 2018, at the end of the Ice Ultra. That was my last race with you guys.
It's not been that long.
It's been that long, unfortunately. Yes, too long, far too long.
Yeah, well, I think as we were talking about before I actually hit record on here, it feels even longer ago. The start of this year feels like a decade ago now.
It does.
Well, how have you been keeping? It's been an unusual year for everyone. We're going to have to touch on that.
It has indeed, yeah. Obviously, being a school teacher, it's had a big impact on us at school. But school hasn't closed. We've been open right throughout bank holidays and holidays for the key worker children and vulnerable children, and then obviously distance learning, so online learning for the rest of the children. So yeah, it's been interesting times. But for me, being in school, it's given me time and opportunities to do exciting things with the children. Lots of den building and rope swings and lots of outdoor adventurous stuff, which the kids have loved, and I've enjoyed doing it with them too. So it's been good to have that bit of freedom, as I said, to beyond the curriculum to do that.
Well, silver linings. I mean, that sounds cracking. I'd love to have done that in school as a kid.
It has been great, and I don't think my feeling has been that I promised the children that we could actually sleep out in the dens that we've made, and you're talking about 4, 5, 6-year-old children here, and a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and then when parents came to pick them up, we had a few tears because parents were taking them home and said, no, you're not sleeping out, so I've got to learn my lesson there. But obviously they made dens, they wanted to sleep out in them, so one day hopefully it's planting that little bit of a seed of adventure for the future.
Yeah, well, and we're going to come well into that. This is, if there's, I suppose me and Chris have said a few times when we've had you along on races that we just wish you'd been our teacher when we grew up. I think of the 10 years earlier that I might have got into adventuring and the kind of challenges that we're involved with if you'd have been around inspiring us as kids.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
But anyway, we're going to get into that a little bit later on. First time we've had you on the show, so we're going right from the beginning today. So Steve Hill, ultra adventurer, extreme ultra runner, as it says on your bios and stuff. But how did it begin for you? Were you someone who, as a kid, was very sporty and outdoorsy, or is it something you've come to a bit later in life?
I've always enjoyed the outdoors and always enjoyed adventure, and as a child growing up, it was always the outdoors, the things I just mentioned there, den building, camping in the back garden, out on bike rides, and just, loving the outdoors. In the Cubs, followed by the Army Cadets, and then I got into playing rugby quite seriously. So from the age of 14 up until late 20s, early 30s, that was my big passion. It took a lot of my time up. Obviously in that time I also became a teacher, and I feel very privileged to be in that profession where I can be part of these children's lives and hopefully have a bit of an impact on them. And it came to the point of finishing playing rugby in my early 30s, and I talk to myself, say, practice what I preach. I'm telling these children to come out of the comfort zone, to get out there, to push themselves, and having stopped playing rugby, I was actually doing that. So it's a case of getting out there and practicing what I was preaching and showing these children that I'm teaching, and have the great privilege of teaching, that there's a big world out there and lots of adventures to be had, and showing them really that through self-belief, hard work and determination, and never giving up when things get tough, anything in life is possible. And that's a big, big passion of mine. As I said, beyond the curriculum, because I think there's so much we can teach these children beyond the maths and the English, these life skills, this character development, and that is a big passion and a big motivation for me in taking on these challenges.
Do you think the sort of wrapping up of you being involved in rugby was a part of you moving into a challenge like that? Because I mean, not that I ever came close to being particularly good at rugby or football or anything like that, but the people I know for whom it has been a big part of their lives, as you get into your 30s and you're maybe not doing it as competitively as you were before, it can be a bit of a hole that's left behind afterwards.
Absolutely, and I've never changed that. I mean, like I said, lots of my friends today, all lads I played rugby with, and it taught me lots of things: teamwork, commitment, giving your best, never giving up. And as I say, it was a great part of my life. And yeah, I've always enjoyed sports, and I do a lot of sports at school with the children. You know, it's a big passion of mine also to get the children involved in sports. And that just was a natural progression then into back into the outdoors, as it were, and back into challenges. And that was back in 2009 where I set myself the challenge of going climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And that took me well out of my comfort zone. And yeah, I was very apprehensive. It was going into the unknown. And yeah, high altitude. And there was a bit of a nervous time, but the children got right behind me, and they were big encouragement and a big motivation themselves. And off I went. And that pretty much was the start of what became known as Mr. Hill's Challenges. And, each year the challenges got bigger and bigger and more challenging. And as I said, to this day, long way they continue.
Well, for the benefit of the listeners who maybe don't know a lot about Mr. Hill, what are Mr. Hill's Challenges?
So as I started in 2009, it was me personally setting myself these personal challenges, which took me around the world and took me out of my comfort zone, but of which I took the children along on the journey. So they'd be involved in the planning, the training, the food that I was taking, but also we'd raise money for local charities. And they were a big part of that. So there were always charities that the children nominated that they were close to their hearts. As I said, teaching year 6, that the children were 10, 11 years old. And they had great ownership of that. And as I said, I'd go off and do the challenge. We'd get sponsorship. The children would arrange lots of fundraising events within school. And as I said, we'd raise money for these charities. And over the last 10 years, we've raised over £100,000 for a wide range of local and national charities. And it's been fabulous. And you can imagine when things ever got tough on these challenges, I'd just have to think of the children, and they'd be spurring me on saying, get on with it, sir, you can do it. And as I said, as much as these challenges possibly inspire the children are as much an inspiration to me too. So, and hopefully by showing them, like I said, the big parts of the world, in remote parts of the world, that it's planting that seed of adventure, that they're going to grow up into mini adventurers themselves, wherever that may take them in the world. So yeah, long way they continue.
Fantastic. When you did that first one, Kilimanjaro, did you have it in mind then? I'm going to do something like this every year, or was it just that year you were off to do Kili?
I think it was just that year initially. It was just, I've always loved the mountains, and I said I love challenge, but it was a bit of a wake-up call. Like I said, I finished playing rugby, there was a bit of a hole there, and I wanted to fill that with adventure, but there was no plans on continuing with these big challenges, and I'd always look forward to going back and sharing them with the children, and having shared my adventures in Kilimanjaro with the children, it was a case of, from the children, what's next, sir? And it made me think, yeah, what is next? And it's just continued from there. And each class expects me to go and, take on a challenge each year when they come into my class. And I'm quite conscious of pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, well, that's
each year just push what's, people think are capable. And that's led me to obviously selves. And that, really did take me out of my comfort zone. That was something totally different. But I'm certainly hooked. But I'll say more about that later.
Yeah, I guess we'll come to that. But I got to say, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And you'd kind of made a rod for your own back. Once you've done it with the first group of kids, the next group of kids are going to hear about it. And then you better have a challenge for that next class when they come through. Absolutely.
The children expect, and who am I to disappoint them, as I say. And it was a case of, well, you've done a marathon, so, you've done a marathon at Everest, so come on, what's next? And it was, well, let's push the boundary. Let's go and do a marathon at the North Pole. And then I was conscious of, well, I've done a marathon at the North Pole, done a marathon in the deserts. Where do I go next? Well, let's go and try this jungle ultra. Let's go and try this, 230 kilometers through the Amazon jungle. And it was just pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But again, going back to that mantra I have, through self-belief, through hard work, through determination, and never giving up when things get tough. Anything in life is possible. And as a message for me to give to my pupils as a teacher, I don't think there's any better message that, come on, get out there, have big dreams, push the boundaries, and you work hard for it, and you'll get your setbacks, but keep moving forward. And it's that old mantra of left foot, right foot, repeat, which has got me through the jungle and got me through the Arctic too.
Well, I have to say, when I'm writing the race reports and you're out there, I see the responses that come in when we're publishing it, and I can see how much it means to these kids and their families back at home. That everyone is genuinely watching your little dot move through the environment, and you're inspiring a lot of people. It's a pleasure for me to be able to tell that story while you're out there.
No, And it's really appreciated, as I said. It's slow and steady. Like I said, I know like I said, pushing the boundaries, but it's enjoy the race. I'm a firm believer in getting to that start line, getting to that finish line, and enjoying the journey in between, if possible. But as I said, keep moving forward. That's the mantra.
Well, obviously we've mentioned Kili, and I know about the Jungle Ultra and the Ice Ultra that you've come along and done them. What other challenges are we talking about here?
Following on from Kilimanjaro, I went and climbed Mont Blanc in the Alps, which was a little bit more technical. From that, I went on to do a 200 kilometre trek through the Sahara Desert, and then it was an expedition in the Arctic with Huskies, and then climbing Mount Everest, the highest mountain in Europe, in Russia. And then from that, it was a case of, I've discussions with the children. Well, done the desert, done the Arctic, and done the mountains, and it was off to the jungles of Borneo to test myself in the jungle environments. And then climbing Mount Kinabalu. Following on from that, a big dream of mine, and it's still on my list of things to do, is to climb Mount Everest one day. That is one of my ultimate dreams. It's on the back burner at the moment. The next best thing was to get to Everest Base Camp, and having done my research, I came across the Mount Everest Marathon, which excited me, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to trek to Base Camp, and while I'm there, I might as well take part in this marathon event. And that was actually my first marathon, and you can imagine, the response from a lot of friends and family, thinking, totally bonkers, you're going to run your first marathon at Everest. It excited me, it excited the children, and self-belief, hard work and determination, never giving up when things get tough, anything's possible, and that was the message I was given to the children. I'm going to go and run my first marathon at Mount Everest. Amazing experience, trekking to base camp, spent 2 nights at base camp, and then ran the marathon back to Namche Bazaar, and I think that's where I then became quite hooked on the running and these extreme environments. After that, what's next, sir? Well, how do you surpass running a marathon at Everest? Well, I came across the North Pole Marathon. I didn't even know there's a marathon at the North Pole. And again, pretty expensive, but it got me, it grabbed me, and it grabbed the children's imagination that Sir might get eaten by polar bears. So that was my next challenge the following year. And again, so my second marathon was at the North Pole in minus 50 degrees at times. But greatly exciting. Followed up with a marathon through the deserts, the Wadi Rum Desert, the Petra Desert Marathon. But it was a case of, come on, I've done the North Pole Marathon, the Mount Everest Marathon. Well, come on, let's push the boundaries. You prove you can do that. And having done my research, that's when I came across the Beyond the Ultimate, you guys, and the Amazon Jungle Ultra. And thankfully, it fitted with school holidays, because obviously the challenges have to be within the school holidays. It's often a case of finishing on a Friday, flying out on a Saturday, taking part in the event, and then being back in school on the Monday. But the dates were perfect. And I'd never done anything like that before in my life, to run pretty much getting on for 6 marathons in 5 days, self-supporting through the Amazon jungle. It's the ultimate adventure. So I had that self-belief. I pressed the button to book my place, and then it was all about the training and the preparation. And this was taking things to another level for me. And fully involved the children. I took the food in, the dried food. We had a day where we were testing all the food, all the equipment, the hammock up on the playing field, and the children were sat in the hammock, and loads of questions. And I was coming into the unknown, but I think prepared well. And they wrote me lots of letters before I set off for Peru. I had letters to open each day, and mascots, and that's why I think I had a heavy bag, because a lot of mascots and school ties. Attached to my bike, and off I went, and it was the most amazing experience I've had to date. It was amazing, and to go back with, I lost a few toenails on that one, and I don't mind admitting it. I keep the toenails in a little plastic Ziploc bag in class, and I add to it after each challenge I have, and we do pass it round from time to time, and it's all part of the experience for them. So these little purple toenails do get passed around the classroom, and it's just great. And just to see, their enthusiasm for Sir and their belief in Sir and getting through these challenges, it's a massive, massive motivation to me. But to be able to inspire them and show them what's possible, a primary school teacher, a normal fella, can go and take on these pretty extreme challenges and complete them, as I say, but at my own pace. I'm not at the front racing people, as you say, but I'm completing it, and I'm out there for long periods of time. And I'll never forget, and it's always a story to tell in the jungle, the trainer episode, the rip trainer on day one, which still haunts me, but still look back and how you can overcome these setbacks in life. But it's all there these things are sent to tries, aren't they? But,
Well, they are that.
They are. And I've still got the trainer today. So I still use that when I do talks in schools. I take the trainer along with me. And as I say, I think there's a good message behind that trainer that, we can plan for any eventuality, but things at times will go wrong in life. You'll get your setbacks, and a rip trainer at the start of stage 2 in the middle of the Amazon jungle doesn't get much worse than that. But zip ties and gaffer tape, and we're back home. So.
Was yours one of the pairs of trainers that we tried to get sewed back together for you as well?
You did, I think. And you did do well, but then the other trainer went. So they weren't the best trainers for the jungle at all. But as I said,
what are the best trainers for the jungle?
I don't, well, exactly. What could they be? I don't know. But they were to be. So but the gaffer tape got me out of that one. But the message there for the children was, no matter how many times you get set back, we have two choices. We can either sit down and feel sorry for ourselves, blame the trainer as it was in that case, and then quit, or we don't have to like it, but we take responsibility for our setbacks in life, and we look for solutions. We take ownership, and we get the gaffer tape out, we get the zip ties out, and we push on, and that's precisely what I did. And it took me to the finish line ultimately with minus a number of toenails, but that was all good fun.
Well, there you go. It's something nice to show the kids afterwards, isn't it?
It is, to get all the gory bits as well, and then the photographs of toenailless toes. Yeah.
Well, this is it. If you'd have said to me that you were like passing this bag of toenails around an office or something, that sounds a bit weird. But for kids, they'll love that.
They love all that stuff, but they do, absolutely. They do. Well, if they don't, they still get it anyway. But yeah, they do. It's all part of it. And as I say, I always take a little memento back for them. So they get little wristbands and things. The challenges that go on, they always get something for them, a little present back for them as well. So they were a big part of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could tell that. I knew half of your pack was notes from the kids and school ties and bits and bobs to keep you going. Yeah. It seems to work for you, though. I mean, I've watched, you see some runners get into really dark frames of mind sometimes when you're out on the trail. You do get setbacks. You're emotionally exhausted after a few days of it, and I've seen people lose their temper, lose their smile, and it happens. We accept that. I've seen tears from people you'd never thought you'd seen that from. Not from you though, Steve. Both times I've seen you go through one of our races, every time I see you, you're just fine. Doesn't matter what you tell me's happened in the last few hours. I'm all right. Yep, getting on. Everything's okay.
Yeah, I firmly believe it. Big smile on your face, going out to enjoy it. Yeah, they are tough and they're long days, as you say, and you're getting up, you're tired, you're stiff, you're sore, your feet are sore, you've got blisters, you've got purple toenails, but get out there and just embrace it. And yeah, I'm a firm believer, we see the positives, and going back to that, getting to that start line, so each day getting to the start line, getting to that finish line in the evening, and quite often late into the evening, but enjoy that journey, enjoy it, savour it, and enjoy the people you're spending this time with. And absolutely. So whenever, I saw you guys or any, photographer on the course, it was always a big smile. And whether that was in the jungle or in the Arctic, 100%, because, it's about mindset and positivity. And, when things did get not down, but low points, I'll think about the children at school and think about their motivation and think about what they'd say. And it'll be, get on with it, sir. Pretty much the message I'd give to them in class. Get on with it. This, I can and I will, just watch me, and just put that left foot in front of the right foot and keep moving forward. And that has got me through there. As long as you keep moving those feet forward, you're going to get to that finish line. But like I say, enjoy it. And, those long days in the jungle, long days in the Arctic, I was running, strolling, ambling, whatever, word, through the jungle, but into the nighttime. And for those who were finishing the race earlier, in daylight, I felt I was getting a different experience. Moving through the jungle at night was a totally different experience from moving through the jungle in the daytime. And, the early finishers, they were missing out on that experience for me. The fireflies, the sounds, the feelings of being stalked, possibly, who knows, but, moving through with the head torches on, it was a great experience in itself. And as I say, coming into camp at night, often raining, dark, getting that hammock up, just positive mindset, get the hammock up, get your routine sorted, get a few hours sleep, let's get up and go again. And yeah, loved it, and would do it again at the drop of a hat, without a doubt.
Fair enough. Well, you know who to call. So we've got as far as the Jungle Ultra. Then what were the challenges you've done since then? I know you've been through to the ice. You spent some time in Uganda as well, didn't you?
I have spent some time in Uganda for the past 2 years. This year it was cancelled. So again, it was a totally different experience. So always looking, as I said, for experiences and challenges. And having done the Jungle Ultra, the following year the Ice Ultra, again on your recommendation. Yeah, I came across the Uganda Marathon, and having done some research on that, it was a race like no other. So, nothing like the challenges in the jungle or the Arctic, but it was a week-long experience in Uganda where you met up with some very like-minded people, and you got involved in lots of projects within the Masaka, the village there, and obviously myself, I was going to schools, hospitals, and at the end of that week, having done a lot of projects and got involved in lots of different things, you ran the Uganda Marathon around Masaka, full marathon distance, and I fell in love with the place. As I say, I went in 2018, I went back in 2019, I was signed up for this year, signed up again for next year, and it is, and I just came back in 2018 thinking, yeah, I'm going to run a marathon, but having run that, it was more than that. It was the experience of the whole week, meeting fantastic people, seeing people who, I've got very little, but I've got so much. And there was a quote on a wall I saw a gallery saying, some people are so poor, all they have is money. And it resonates. These children, and they were going to these schools, had very little, yet they had big smiles on their faces. They had everything, and nothing against the children that I teach, but going back to school, I'm going back to children who've got everything, and yet there's something missing in their lives. They haven't got what some of these children in Africa have got. And it made me realise that, a very small amount of support can make a massive difference to these, children and young people's lives. And as I say, I've been kept going back since, and hopefully continue to go back. And I've made some good friendships there in Masaka who I keep in touch with. So yeah, it's a big part now of my life, and it's really got a place in my heart as Uganda.
Yeah, well, I'd seen you posting about it quite a bit. I won't lie, I mainly ask because Uganda's quite close to my heart as well. I spent a good few months out there a few years ago. Yeah, working with a little NGO back before I got with Beyond the Ultimate. Yeah, and I absolutely love it. I've had my eye on the Uganda Marathon for a little while, so thanks.
We'll have to go together, won't you? No, you have to come sometime. We'll have to make that happen. Maybe next year, the year after, definitely. Because I think Shane Benzie did a bit of work over there as well, didn't he? At some point, I don't know, there's an orphanage. Did some work over there. He told me the following year. Yeah. So yeah, seems to be a few people have got links there. But yeah, it's certainly got a big place in my heart.
Oh, fantastic! And let's talk a little about. You mentioned earlier that over the last few years you've managed to raise £100,000 or more now for different charities, and that's the Team Hill Trust, right?
No, that's the Team Hill Charitable Trust is more of a recent thing. So yeah, from 2009 with the Kilimanjaro, that's when our fundraising started, and it was charities that the children nominated within class and were close to their heart. So for 10 years, as I say, that culminated in just over £100,000 raised for a wide range of charities. But having been to Uganda for the past 2 years, and as I said, seeing what a small amount, what a difference it can make. Last year, in August, almost 12 months ago, it just felt the right time maybe to formalise that fundraiser a little bit more and have a little bit more control over where that money went. And having discussed my thoughts, if you like, with a number of friends and family, I broached this, about setting up my own charitable trust. Didn't know what to call it, but I knew what I wanted to do. It was to make a difference locally within Greater Manchester and beyond for individual people and causes, not necessarily big charities, but also to help support projects in Uganda. And therefore, Team Hill Charitable Trust was launched with some fantastic people on board. 4 people in particular: Diana Haywood, Dave Haywood, Brian Hurst and Laura Hurst, who are the trustees. And just wholeheartedly believe in what it's about, and it's carrying on with the challenges. It's running, fundraising events within Oldham with like-minded people, but raising money to help individuals' causes. We've supported a little girl with cerebral palsy to put a little gym in her back garden for physio. Some other young people within Oldham, and we put a roof on a school in Uganda. We've just purchased an oxygen concentrator for a clinic in Uganda. So things that matter, and we've got control over that money. And as I say, it's just been phenomenal over this past 12 months. The impact that this charitable trust has had, and as I say, it's just brought lots of like-minded people together in a big way, all working towards the same cause of, our tagline is making a difference, and if we can make a small difference in the world, as I say, job done. And obviously children at school involved, and we have hoodies and so forth, and we've got children wearing the hoodies, and it's just very special. And as I say, we are what we are. We're going to just try and make a small difference in the world, and as I say, we're very like-minded people.
Well, mate, I can see from what you've been posting and stuff that you've been doing that. I mean, you've been busy through lockdown as well, right?
We have, because obviously a lot of our fundraising events had to be cancelled throughout lockdown, and having discussed it with the trustees, just saying, we're a charity now, and it's time to step up. What can we do during this lockdown period for our community? And the obvious thing initially was to do food shops for the elderly and vulnerable people who had to shield. And Oldham Council got wind of this and asked us to come under their umbrella. So we're still doing it now, for the past 15, 16 weeks. We've done over 500 food shops. As I say, we've got regular food shops. So we've got a number of people who've come on board and helped with those food shops. We've done prescription pickups. We've put comfort packs together for the hospital, for the COVID wards. Again, over 500 of those. Baby blankets for the neonatal department. Things for the children's ward, and just generally trying to make that difference throughout. And as I say, we're still doing that to this day, and it's been great, and long may that continue. But it was the obvious thing to do. It's all right, set up as a charity and doing all these glamorous things, but when the chips are down and we're on lockdown, let's step up to the plate and make that difference. And we like to think we really have. As I said, to have done over 500 shops for people, it has made a difference to people's lives. And
absolutely, it has. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not surprised at all to have seen through lockdown.
Stress out of the house. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's no surprise to me at all that during a time of crisis like this, you've been out there trying to find something positive you can do about it. That's very much the attitude we've seen from you.
Absolutely, but as I say, with a great team of people, you can't do these things on your own, and we've had amazing people get on board and help us out. And as I said, and that's simply because they believe in what we're doing, and it's give people an opportunity to help themselves. So all good stuff, and long may that continue, as I say. But equally so with the challenges.
So I've got to ask then. When was the MBE?
When was the MBE? That was in 2015, and as you can imagine, an absolutely massive shock. I remember to this day opening the envelope. It was in November 2014, and reading in total disbelief what was in the envelope. And yeah, that it transpires now came through parents at school at the time who'd put this together and had put the application in and got lots of endorsements in conjunction with some friends and family. I knew nothing about it at all, and you initially think, no, I'm not worthy of this, and you do question whether to accept it. But it's a lot of people putting a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm a firm believer that award is not for me. It's for every person I've worked with, or the children I've worked with. Everything is about a team effort. But yeah, 2015, a massive honour indeed, totally unexpected, massive shock.
Absolutely fitting, mate. I think you despite what you say, I think you've done everything you needed to do to deserve it, and you've carried on doing it since. It seems to have inspired you to more, if anything else.
Absolutely, and like I say, I just intend doing more, anything we possibly can. As I say, in every aspect, challenges, the fundraising, any way that we can make a difference. As I say, we've got the trust now, we've got the charity status, and we're there to make that difference. And it's what the charity's achieved in the last 12 months is quite phenomenal, and hopefully we continue with that. As I say, but it's not just at home, but currently in Uganda, and projects around the world, hopefully in the future.
Fantastic. Well, before we hit record on this, we talked a little bit about. I think it's a great opportunity talking to you to talk to a different kind of runner to who we have been talking to lately. Because, there's been records falling right, left and centre over the last few weeks. And it's been a fantastic opportunity to talk to, some truly exceptional athletes. People who just seem to be superhuman, and we've interviewed that kind of runner before, but what we keep being asked about is people want to talk. People want to hear a runner talking who's more like them, who's entering these races knowing it's going to be a grind to get through some of the days, and you're not at that elite level. It's something you fit in around your life in a different way, and you're maybe not covering the ground as quickly during the event. So let's talk a little bit more about that, for the benefit of the guys that are sort of out there listening to this, and that's a description that's maybe a little bit more fitting for them while they're out racing these races. You're doing long days generally, aren't you?
Very long days. I'm not a runner. I admit when I was playing rugby and we used to go on these long runs, I wasn't a runner. I didn't enjoy the long distances. I'm not an ultra runner. I'm a school teacher. But I like a challenge, and it's about that challenge and pushing the body. And I'm a firm believer that we're all capable of these ultra marathons. We're all capable of anything in life. We've got to believe it. And when it's tough, and those low moments, you've just got to keep moving forward. The easy option is always to quit. So yeah, I'm a full-time teacher and everything that entails, which is, marking books at night, lots of work in the evenings, long days at school. But, once I decide to set the challenge, the Amazon jungle, the Arctic, that's it. That's me set. And it's getting the training in the evenings, getting the hours in the weekends. But involving the children is a big part. As I say, once I've mentioned it to them, there's no going back, and they're a big part of that. And we all need that, those cheerleaders, if you like, isn't it, whether it's family or friends who believe in you and support you. And but you've got to believe in yourself, first and foremost. You've got to believe in yourself. I think self-doubt is our worst enemy. You doubt yourself, you're never going to achieve anything in life. You get into these events, and, the jungle's a prime example. We're there with some very elite runners, but runners of all abilities, but, military background, and you yourself all the time, isn't it? And some very accomplished runners. And I don't for 1 minute ever look at them and compare myself to them as a runner. I'm not competing with them. I'm there for my own challenge to push myself to my limits within a really challenging environment. And, not thinking about that final finish line. I'm thinking about each day at a time and breaking it down. I'm a firm believer in one step at a time, 1 mile at a time, one checkpoint at a time, keep moving forward that one day at a time, but enjoying it. I'm a big message to people who set themselves out on this journey of going achieving, taking part in these ultra marathons. Enjoy the environment that you're in. Enjoy the people that you're in. Learn from these people, but run your own race, at your own pace, and that allows you to enjoy that journey. And say there were times, in the jungle, I'd just sit in the middle of a store in the middle of a river and just remind myself where I was. I'm in the Amazon jungle. Just take it in for a minute and enjoy where you are. And as I said, come into camp and not, as I said, compare myself with anyone else. And that's the same in life. And that's a message I often give to children. Don't go through life comparing yourself to other people and feeling inferior because they're better than you at something. Yeah, there's a lot of runners that are much better than me at running, but I was there, and my objective was to get to the finish line each evening. But as I said, learn from other people. Ask the questions about kit. Test things out. But don't let that distance, don't let that, massive extremeness, if you like, of these challenges put you off. If it's something that you fancy, make that decision to start it. Train well, prepare well, ask the questions, get to that start line, and enjoy it. Enjoy it. As I said, just keep putting them left foot in front of the right foot, moving forward, get to the finish line, and just break it down into small, manageable chunks. And if you train a split, just get on with it. Give it a bit of a laugh, get the gaffer tape out, and push on. But I think we've all got it within us. But you like to say, it starts with that self-belief.
Well, and I think what you've just described there is most people that enter most ultra running events, right? And if there are 70 people along on the jungle, which is the most we ever take along on that trip, there's probably only a dozen who've gone into it thinking, I'm up for one of the podium places here. I'm pushing for it. Most of the people out there are similar attitude to you. They're challenging themselves against something that they honestly don't know if they can finish. And I always find that very inspiring. But is that what draws you to it? What is it that you get out of these challenges, given that you are one of those runners that's not necessarily coming back with a top 3 place? Absolutely
not. It's coming out of my comfort zone. It's taking on something that most of my friends wouldn't even dream of taking on. It's knowing that inside me I've got that ability to do that, but it's way out there. So it is pushing myself to my limit, mentally and physically. And I enjoy those mind games. I enjoy getting that mindset set, that the challenge mode. I saw it, get into challenge mode, and a little bit into the unknown, but going out off the beaten track into these really, really challenging environments, and just thinking, let's get on with it. Let's see what we're capable of here. And whatever gets thrown at me, I'm going to deal with it. But as I said, I'm going to run my own race. I'm going to run into the night. I'm going to enjoy the fact that I'm running in darkness when many of the other faster runners are not getting that experience. And ultimately, I want to get that medal for the children at school, so the medals get hung up in class. And that medal's for them, they're a big part of that, and I wouldn't want to go back empty-handed. So as long as that mindset, I think it's the mindset, isn't it? That you've got to get that mindset strong, focused, positive, as I say, and not worry about that bigger picture. Don't think about the 230 kilometres. Think about that stage 1. Think about that first mile. Think about that first checkpoint, and just break it down to small chunks. But I'm a firm believer again, got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it. And I say, if I can finish work on a Friday, in the February half term, fly to the Arctic on the Saturday, start the race, I think it was the Monday or the Tuesday, do the Arctic ice up. So like with the 5 days, wasn't it? Finish on the Saturday and be back in school on the Monday. Admittedly, minus 1 or 2 toenails. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do it. Yes, you've got to work hard for it, and it goes back. I know it does roll off the tongue a little bit. Self-belief, hard work, determination, not giving up when things get tough. anything in life, whatever it is you want to achieve in life, is possible. And at any age, I think we've all got it in us, as I said, but you've got to believe it and got to make it happen. Got to make it happen, and it's something I do tell the children. You've got to make it happen, and you've got to put the hard work in. But you do meet some amazing people who become friends for life, and you do tend to then meet the same people on different challenges, and as I say, you do keep in touch, and they're great people. Yeah, but all very supportive. You find that all the race I've done with you guys, nobody's got an ego. Everyone's there to support each other, whether it's helping each other put hammocks up or, at night, clapping people in. You just feel as though you're part of an absolute team, a family, and everyone wants you to succeed in what you're doing there. There's no hierarchy, there's no ego. It's just a great place to be.
Well, thanks very much. I mean, we're not here to sell the BTU races. We're here to talk about you, but it's nice to hear that. Okay, well, we've talked about the jungle a bit. If we talk about the ice a little bit, let's put you in there. I mean, I know if you look at the long stage on the ice, you get the likes of Damian Hall and Vicente Garcia and those kind of runners will somehow knock off that ridiculously long stage in 6, 7, 8 hours at the absolute most. For most of us out there, it's a much longer slog than that. And I've seen people out on that particular stage for 20, 21 hours at a time at the absolute extreme. And that takes a different set of tools to do. Although the athletes right out of the front might be at the elite level when it comes to the physicality, and they've got to have the mindset that comes with being able to soak up that much training and to push at that intensity. But I always think from a psychological point of view, it's much harder to do the much longer version of that day, to potentially take 3 times longer than them to get along the same route. So where's your head going do you manage to keep your mood up all the way through, or are there low times for you as well, Steve?
No, I've managed to keep very positive and keep my mood right up there. The Arctic's slightly different. In the jungle, I ran with a partner, if you like, for a few of the days. In the Arctic, I was pretty much alone throughout from the start, to the finish, when people then spread out. I enjoy the cold. Don't get me wrong, I prefer the cold. I think my body's better suited to the cold. But it was long days. It got dark. The cold is obviously a big concern, but I managed very well in the Arctic. I regulate my body really well. It was cold, but kept moving forward. I had my little treats, licorice throughout the day and so forth. And you just felt when you got to a checkpoint, you were well looked after. You were checked on, you were checked over. And I had no problems at all. As I say, it was back again, so just breaking it down into miles and checkpoints and to that finish line. But that long day was a long slog. But, there were other things to break it up. I had the Northern Lights one evening, and I remember Chris coming out to meet about 2 kilometres out from camp, and we ran in together, and things like that were just very special. And then prior to just stopping and seeing them starting to appear in the sky, and, you'd have the snowmobiles going past quite regularly, checking on you, and it was that positive mindset. And I go back to, again, thinking about the people who were raising money for charities, thinking about the children at school and the message that they'd given to me, and it was just a case of keep pushing on, and it was foot, right foot repeats, and getting to those checkpoints and then breaking each of the stages down into good manageable chunks. And the welcome sight of camp at night was always great to see. A bit of warmth and so forth, and up and go again. But totally different experience in many ways than the jungle, but equally so, challenging and greatly enjoyable.
Well, I mean, you've done tremendously well there to keep that mindset positive throughout, and I guess this is where you talked about how the kids are as much an inspiration for you. When I've talked to a lot of runners on the show that talk about when you get into the hard times, you have to remember why you turned up in the first place, and that reason why. You need a good reason to push you through a number of kilometers like that, to put yourself in that level of discomfort for as long as you are, and you've definitely got that.
You do. I mean, when you think about it, isn't it? In your holidays, this is your holiday, isn't it? And you're out there in minus 40 degrees, and you
you had a bloody cold year as well.
It was a cold year. It was a very cold year. And I'm not mistaken. It was the 30 was starting. I think 12 finished or 14 finished. There were a lot of people in the first two stages who pulled out of the race. There weren't many of us left, and it wasn't until the morning of the stage 3 we were told that I think there were 12 of us left, and it was a cool one. But what a beautiful place to be. It was, and as I said, touch wood, I don't know what it is, but I do tend to get on that player when I set off on the challenge and my mind just changed into challenge mode. and it remains in that mode, and it's a nice place to be. And whatever gets thrown at you, you just deal with it and get on with it. And it's just a case of positivity. And if you're positive, I think you enjoy it more. Whatever's thrown at you, keep it positive. Yeah, and like I said, remember why you're there. To inspire these children, this next generation, to show what's possible, and to go back to a class of children and say, sorry guys, I quit. Not happening, no matter what. No way at all. So that keeps me going. But you got to run it for yourself as well. It's challenging myself as well and seeing what I'm capable of. And I hopefully, if I think I've not got there yet, there's lots more to come and lots more boundaries to push. Two of which will be the Rangers and the Desert one.
Yeah. Well, we'll be looking forward to meeting you there, mate. That desert race in particular is going to be a lot warmer than you when you were with us in the Arctic.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather the cold than the heat, but it's there to be done. Absolutely. I was following Simon. Was it this year? Simon Davis.
Yeah.
And good man, he did it. Yeah. But,
he did. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it looks an extremely hot one, but bring it on. Yeah.
So if I'm a runner sitting at home now thinking, maybe I've just signed up for a huge challenge like this for next year, because we're seeing a lot of that. But people have been cooped up for the last few months. They're now starting to look at big challenges to motivate them into 2021. If I'm one of those people about to take on a big multi-day race for the first time, and I know I'm going to be a little further down the pack, I'm going to be having longer days, I ain't going to be sprinting out there with those top three people. What sort of advice have you got for someone in that position coming into this? What did you learn from that step up from running marathons to running 5 marathons in 5 days?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that they've booked it. They've made that decision, which is great. I still believe that they've made that first decision of, I booked it now. So it's preparing well. It's doing your research, getting the right equipment together, do some bit more research on your trainers than I did for the jungle. Look at your food, test your food out. And don't expect to be running the whole thing. I think that's sometimes a mistake that people make, that you're going to run the whole of the course. It's not a case of that. You're often marching, you're walking, you're going at a pace that you can maintain and that you're comfortable with. Don't be going and thinking you've got to compete and it's embarrassing to be near the back or to come in last place. It isn't at all. The fact that you're there doing it is amazing. And as I say, if you come in last, it doesn't matter. For me, it's getting to that finish line and, as I say, enjoying that journey. And don't be competing and don't be trying to compete with the front runners, because I think that's a big mistake runners like myself can make, isn't it? You push off a pace that you can't maintain, you're going to get yourselves in all sorts of, struggles, dangers, dehydration, fatigue and so forth. And that could be the end of your race, whether you like it or not. So it's a case of listening to your body, knowing your body, knowing when it's time to run, knowing when it's time to walk. A big bit of advice would always to walk the hills. And as I said, just take in the surroundings and enjoy being there, and just try and get to the end of every day. Get up with a positive mindset in the morning and enjoy that journey. And before you know it, you'll be at that finish line, celebrating with that lovely medal around your neck, with stories to tell for many, many years to come. But my for those doing it for the first time, it won't be the last time. I think once you've done one and you've experienced the whole thing, camp life, the race itself, you'll want more. As I say, it does become quite addictive. And you want to just keep pushing those boundaries. But as I say, go and run your own race, but do your preparation beforehand and put the hard work in, and make sure you turn up on that start line mentally prepared as much as physically prepared.
I think that's a priceless bit of advice right there, that don't push yourself into running somebody else's race with them. And I'd say this, I've watched a lot of multi-stage races now over the last few years. I've worked alongside them, and you get runners such as yourself who, all right, they're going to be nearer the back of the pack, but you're solid, you're fine every time we see you. You've got a plan and you're sticking to it and you're being consistent. No worries. We'll leave you to your own devices all day. It's the runners who haven't quite figured out where they are yet in their training and push on too hard, think it's somehow shameful to be further than halfway down the pack, so I'm going to have to push a bit harder, and they overcook it and they end up in trouble.
Absolutely. And there's no going back from that, is there? Once you're in trouble, the medics get into, and you finish, aren't you? As I say, you've got to know your race and run your own race. And if that's at the back of the pack, so be it. Just be, you're there. The fact that you're there is enough in itself. As I say, you want to get to that finish line, ultimately. Hopefully with a smile on your face too.
Absolutely.
That would be my advice, and that's the advice I always give to myself: run your own race. Yeah.
Well, of the challenges you've done, I've got to ask you, just out of curiosity, of the challenges you've done, what do you think was the toughest?
Definitely either the jungle or the Arctic, without a doubt. Both
I wasn't
different. I don't know
fishing
if it's
there.
tough. No, you would, without a doubt. I mean, those have been my last, two, and that's the benchmark for me now. And I don't want to be going backwards from there. I want to be pushing on from there, and that's why the ranges and the desert and the mountain one, hopefully in the future. It's hard to say. It's both totally different terrains. Both got their own challenges. I'd say the jungle possibly was harder because the trainer, the blisters, the terrain, the heat. Obviously, they're putting your hammock up at night was a thing in itself, and all that administration which you didn't get in the Arctic. So you are totally on your own in the jungle, aren't you? There's no help. You prepare your food, you hammock up, and you get to that start line every morning. Whereas obviously in the Arctic, you come into the shack and you bed down on the floor quite often, isn't it? But I said the jungle probably was a tough one for me. The Arctic, extremely tough, but my body, I don't know, cold's better in the cold, I think, and I do prefer the cold. So the jungle ultra would be my toughest, but equally so, one of my most amazing experiences, without a doubt. But the Arctic was too. So yeah, definitely to be on the ultimate 2 races. So that's why I want more.
Fair enough, mate. We look forward to having you along. Well, what does the future hold then, Stephen? I know that is a difficult question at the moment because none of us really know what the future holds more further ahead than the next few days. But, assuming we do get to have lives again next year, what challenge have you got your eye on? Or would that be spoiling it for the kids if you said it now?
Well, I did have a challenge for this August. I'd signed up to. It was the Great Norse Run. 16th of August. It was running from the north to the south of Iceland. 230 miles. It equates to about 9 marathons in 10 days. That was all happening until last week. So that's been now put back to 2021. So that'll happen in 2021 again. It's in the school holidays. Beyond that, as I say, I'm always looking for the challenges that push the boundaries, inspire the children, grab their imagination, and show them what's possible. I'm very restricted, obviously, to school holidays, and I've been very lucky over the last 10 years that all of my challenges have fit in with half-term holidays and summer holidays. On the back of challenges, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been asked to do talks about my challenges, awards, at schools, and I've become an ambassador for the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and been invited to do gold presentations down at Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace, things I'd never dreamt of be doing, and again, quite often pinch me moments. There are those moments you just think, life takes you on certain paths sometimes you never plan on, and these opportunities come and it's like, what, me? And you're in a room of 100 young people about to receive the gold award and 100 parents, and you've got a bit of a talk and work the room. You're thinking, how on earth have we ended up here? But the message is the same about adventure and about pushing yourself and getting out there and making a difference, and then speaking to Prince Edward, and then the massive honour of shaking hands and giving out these Gold DV awards, and I think it's fabulous. And I suppose these opportunities have come on the back of the challenges over the last 10 years. So I think the future holds more of that, really, more challenges, more work with Team Hill Charitable Trust, making more of a difference if possible. But a big passion of mine, and always will be with children, and motivating and inspiring children beyond the classroom, beyond the curriculum, because within my talks, I talk about who's got big dreams. Come on, we're all entitled to big dreams. And I often find that, children have got very low aspirations and no hands go up. And, my message to them is, we're all entitled to big dreams, dreams that excite us, dreams that frighten us. We've got to believe in them ourselves, and we've got to work to achieve those dreams. And, a big thing for me will be to do more talks, possible workshops with children to develop resilience and character traits that will take them through life. And it's not about you've all got to go and run marathons through the jungles and through the Arctics, but life itself, isn't it? Where do you want life to take you? And let's not settle for second best. We've all got it within us to have those dreams, and nobody has got the right to tell us our dreams are too big. No one's got a right. We've got to believe it yourselves. And I work with children every day, and I want to probably reach more children that dream big, aim high, never give up. So that's where hopefully more challenges will enable me to do more of that, as I say, make more of a difference. But as I say, it's about this next generation of inspired young people who are going to go out there and achieve their dreams, whatever they may be in life. That's what I hope.
Fantastic. Well, dream big, aim high, never give up. I think we've just found the title for this podcast, mate.
Sounds good to me.
Well, whatever it is you're up to in the future, Steve, I'll be watching, and hopefully I do get to see you in Uganda and Namibia and wherever else we end up adventuring. It'll be a pleasure.
We must make that happen because, like I say, you're special people at BTU, and I know it's not about that, but I do. There's not unfinished business. There's races there that I want to be part of, and you come away from your races feeling very good about yourself. You've met some great people. So yeah, long may that association with you guys continue. And yeah, I'd love to spend some time in Uganda with you too, Will.
Fantastic. And look, good luck with the future. Good luck with the work with Team Hill Trust. I'll make sure I've dropped a couple of links in wherever I put the descriptions of this so people can come along and see how they can support if they want to. And yeah, Steve, genuinely, I wish you'd been my teacher growing up.
Oh, thank you very much, Will. It means the world to me, that. Thank you.
No worries. You enjoy the rest of your day.